Hello, my friends. Welcome to Timeless Wisdom, where we explore simple, practical ways to simplify life, especially in keeping our homes comfortable, safe, and clutter-free. Does your home feel overwhelming? Are you constantly rearranging to make space, but it never seems enough? You're not alone. As we age, organizing becomes tougher. Memories fill our closets and energy wanes. But fear not, a full home makeover isn't necessary. Small, manageable changes can significantly impact how your home looks and feels, bringing peace of mind, easing daily tasks, and enhancing safety. Today, we'll discuss 15 bad habits that contribute to a cluttered home. All right, let's start with the first bad habit, perfectionism. And trust me, this one might surprise you. It's perfectionism. Yes, you heard me right. Believe it or not, perfectionism is one of the biggest reasons many seniors struggle to keep their homes tidy. I see this all the time. We think, if I can't do it all perfectly, I won't do it at all. Maybe you want every drawer to be neatly organized, every label to match, or every surface to be spotless before you even begin. But here's the problem. That kind of thinking keeps us stuck. It makes us put things off because the job feels too big, too overwhelming. I've worked with seniors who haven't tackled a messy closet in years because they were waiting for the right time to do it properly. But the truth is, there's never a perfect time, and it doesn't have to be perfect at all. So here's the fix. Stop aiming for perfection and start aiming for progress. Let's make this easier. What if you just did it badly? Yes, badly. What if you simply took all your socks, underwear and pajamas and tossed them into a drawer without folding them? What if you wiped off the kitchen counters quickly instead of scrubbing every inch? What if you just took the first step instead of worrying about the entire project? Because here's the secret. Once you start, the momentum keeps you going. So my challenge to you today, find one small thing you've been putting off because you want to do it perfectly and just do it imperfectly. You'll be amazed at how freeing it feels. Now let's talk about another habit that's keeping your home cluttered. Holding on to just-in-case items. Holding on to things just in case. Be honest, how many times have you looked at an old gadget, a stack of linens or a kitchen appliance and thought, I might need this someday? It's a natural instinct. We don't want to waste things. We don't want to get rid of something that could be useful one day. But here's the hard truth. Someday rarely comes. I once worked with a lovely woman named Margaret. She had a closet filled with extra blankets, old vases, holiday decorations, and kitchen tools she hadn't touched in over a decade. When I asked her why she kept them, she smiled and said, "Well, you never know. What if I need them someday?" But here's the problem. Keeping these just-in-case items means your home is filled with things you don't use, instead of things you actually need and enjoy. That clutter takes up space in your closets, your cabinets, even your peace of mind. So how do we fix this? It's simple. Ask yourself one question. When was the last time I used this? If it's been years, it's time to let it go. If you might need it someday, remind yourself that you can borrow, rent, or replace it, if that day ever comes. And here's the best part. Someone else could use it right now. Imagine that extra coffee maker sitting in your cabinet. It could be helping a young couple who just moved into their first home. Those extra coats? They could keep someone warm this winter. So today, take a look around. Find 3 things you've been keeping just in case and set them free. I promise you won't miss them, but you will love the extra space and clarity. Now let's talk about a habit that I know many of us are guilty of. Overstuffing our drawers and closets. Overstuffing drawers and closets. I get it. It's easy to think out of sight, out of mind when we're tidying up. We shove things into a drawer, cram a little more into the closet, and close the door quickly before something falls out. And for a moment, it looks clean. But here's the problem. Those things don't disappear. They just pile up, making it harder and harder to find what you actually need. I once helped a gentleman named Richard go through his closet. He had 3 identical jackets, dozens of old shirts he hadn't worn in years, and enough mismatched socks to fill a laundry basket. When I asked him which jacket he actually wore, he thought for a moment and said, "Well, mostly just this one." That's when it clicked. He wasn't using 80% of what was in his closet, and yet every morning he had to dig through all that clutter just to find the things he actually wanted. Sound familiar? So here's a simple fix: the 1 in, 1 out rule. Every time you bring something new into your home, whether it's a shirt, a kitchen gadget, or even a new book, remove something old. This keeps your space from becoming overloaded and makes sure you're only keeping what you actually use and love. And another trick? Prioritize what's within reach. If you have to dig through 5 old sweaters just to find the one you wear every day, it's time for a change. Keep the essentials front and center and let go of the excess. So today, do yourself a favor. Pick 1 drawer, 1 shelf, or 1 small cluttered section and clear out what you don't need. You'll be amazed at how much easier life feels when your home isn't bursting at the seams. Now, let's talk about a habit that seems like it's helping, but is actually making your home more cluttered. Band-Aid storage solutions. I call it Band-Aid storage solutions. You know what I mean, adding extra baskets, tiny shelves, hooks on every wall, thinking it'll help organize the space. At first, it feels like a good idea, but before you know it, these little fixes start piling up, literally. I once visited my dear friend Helen, who kept saying, "I just don't have enough storage." But when I walked into her living room, I saw the walls covered in small shelves, extra plastic bins stacked in corners, and hooks hanging off the doors. Instead of making things easier to find, it made the room feel crowded, busy, and overwhelming. Here's the truth. The problem isn't a lack of storage, it's having too much stuff spread out in too many small spaces. So here's the fix. Instead of adding more little storage pieces, focus on better storage. Think big. Instead of multiple small bookcases, consider 1 tall, sturdy shelving unit that uses vertical space efficiently. If you have baskets all over the place, ask yourself, do I really need them, or am I just creating more clutter? And here's my favorite trick: hidden storage. A storage bench, an ottoman with a lift-up lid, or a bed frame with drawers underneath. These pieces give you storage without making the room feel crowded. Helen took this advice and replaced her multiple small shelves with 1 large, beautiful cabinet. Suddenly, her space felt open, tidy, and peaceful. So today, take a look around. Are you using Band-Aid solutions? If so, maybe it's time to rethink your storage. Less is more, and better storage is better than more storage. All right, my friends, here's a habit that tricks a lot of us into thinking we're making progress when, in reality, we're just moving clutter from one place to another. Organizing before decluttering. Organizing before decluttering. Now, I know how tempting it is. You open a messy drawer and instead of removing things you don't need, you start rearranging, tidying, even buying little dividers to make it look nicer. But here's the problem. If you're organizing clutter, it's still clutter. I like to say trying to organize before decluttering is like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. It might look better for a moment, but it doesn't fix the real problem. I once worked with a sweet couple, Joe and Linda, who had kitchen cabinets overflowing with Tupperware. Instead of getting rid of the extra containers, they kept buying more storage bins to hold them. They had lids with no matching bottoms, containers so old they were stained, and enough plastic to open their own store. But every time they tried to organize, they just shifted things around. So here's the fix. Always declutter first. Before you think about where things should go, ask yourself, do I even need this? If you haven't used it in the last year, if it's broken, or if you have too many of the same thing, it's time to let it go. Once you've cleared the excess, then you can organize what's left in a way that truly works for you. Joe and Linda took his advice, and guess what? They got rid of more than half their Tupperware. Suddenly, they didn't need all those extra storage bins, and finding the right container became quick and easy. So today, before you start organising a space, take a deep breath and declutter first. It'll save you time, space, and frustration in the long run. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever put off decluttering because you were waiting for the perfect time to do it? All or nothing mindset. Maybe you've told yourself, I'll clean out that closet when I have an entire afternoon free, or I'll get the kitchen organised when I have a whole day to do it properly. My friends, let me tell you a little secret. That perfect time almost never comes. Life gets busy, energy runs low, and before you know it, another week, another month, another year has passed, and the clutter is still sitting there. This is called the all or nothing mindset, and it's one of the biggest reasons people, especially seniors, struggle to keep their homes tidy. We think if we can't do the whole job at once, it's not even worth starting. But here's the truth. Small steps add up to big progress. So here's the fix. Try the 5-minute bowl. Set a timer for just 5 minutes and tackle a small area. That's it. Clean out one drawer instead of the whole dresser. Wipe down just the kitchen counters instead of deep cleaning the entire room. Wash a few dishes instead of waiting till the sink is overflowing. I once helped a woman named Barbara who wanted to declutter her attic but kept putting it off because, as she said, it's just too much. When I told her to start with just 5 minutes, she laughed and said, "What can I possibly get done in 5 minutes?" But you know what happened? Once she started, she kept going. 5 minutes turned into 10. 10 turned into 20. And before she knew it, she had made real progress. The hardest part is starting, but once you do, momentum takes over. So today I challenge you. Pick one tiny task and give it just 5 minutes. You might be surprised at how much you can accomplish. All right, my friends, let's talk about one of the sneakiest clutter traps out there, buying storage before decluttering. Have you ever walked into a store, seen a stack of beautiful storage bins, baskets, or organisers, and thought, this will help me get my house in order? So you buy a few, or maybe more than a few, and take them home, feeling like you're one step closer to an organised life. But here's what happens next. Instead of solving the clutter problem, those containers become part of it. I can't tell you how many times I've helped seniors declutter their homes, only to find piles of unused storage bins sitting in corners, stacked in closets, or even collecting dust in the garage. People buy them with good intentions, but they quickly realise they don't actually need most of them. Here's the simple truth. Storage containers don't fix clutter. Decluttering fixes clutter. So here's the fix. Do not buy any new storage containers until you've decluttered first and know exactly what you need to store. Use what you already have. Shoe boxes, old baskets, dresser drawers. Now, my friends, this next habit is one that many of us seniors struggle with, and I'll be the first to admit I've been guilty of it too. Trying to do everything alone. Trying to do everything alone. Now, I know we were raised to be independent. We come from a generation that takes pride in doing things ourselves, working hard, and not relying on others. But here's the thing. Our needs change as we get older, and trying to keep up with all the household chores, decluttering, and organising by ourselves can quickly become overwhelming. Let me tell you about my friend Robert. He was 78 years old, living alone, and still trying to do everything: cleaning, organising, moving heavy boxes, even scrubbing his floors by hand. He wouldn't ask for help because, as he put it, "I don't want to be a burden." But here's what I told him and what I want to tell you today. Asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. So here's the fix. Ask for help. Your family, your friends, your neighbours, they want to help. And if you don't have family nearby, consider hiring a professional organiser or even asking the local volunteer group for assistance. Use technology to lighten your load. Robot vacuums can keep your floors clean with the push of a button. Voice-controlled assistants like Alexa or Google Home can remind you to do small tasks or even call someone when you need a hand. Robert finally agreed to let his grandson help him with some decluttering, and guess what? Not only did his home become more organized, but the process brought them closer together. Decluttering doesn't have to be a solo project. It can be a chance to connect with loved ones. So today, I encourage you, let someone help you. Whether it's lifting a heavy box, organizing a closet, or just keeping you company while you tidy up, accepting help can make all the difference. Now let's talk about a habit that many of us fall into without even realizing it. Over-complicating systems. Making things way more complicated than they need to be. I call this over-complicating systems. We start with good intentions. We want everything neat and organized, so we create detailed labels, multiple categories, color-coded folders, and separate bins for every little thing. But then what happens? We can't keep up with it. I once helped my dear friend Martha organize her paperwork. She had 15 different label folders, one for medical bills, one for insurance, one for bank statements, one for warranties, one for old tax documents. You get the idea. At first, it looked great, but a few months later, she had stopped using it altogether because every time she needed to file something, she had to figure out exactly which category it belonged in. Here's the truth. The more complicated the system, the harder it is to maintain. So here's the fix. Keep it simple. Bigger categories, fewer steps. Instead of 10 different bins for paperwork, try just one labelled important papers. For clothing, instead of sorting by season, material and colour, just keep everyday clothes separate from special occasion clothes. For household items, use broad categories like cleaning supplies or office essentials, rather than multiple tiny subcategories. I promise, when a system is simple, you're more likely to stick with it. Martha finally switched to just 3 basic folders, one for current bills, one for important records, and one for documents to shred later. And guess what? It worked. She didn't have to think twice about where things went, and suddenly organising her papers with Ethy was easy. So today, take a look at your organising systems. Are they too complicated? If so, simplify them. Less sorting, fewer categories, and bigger bins mean a more organised, stress-free home. Now let's be honest. Life gets busy, energy runs low, and sometimes we just don't feel like tidying up. Snowball effect of clutter. It's easy to say, I'll do it tomorrow, but the problem is tomorrow turns into next week, next month, and before you know it, the mess has piled up. This is what I call the snowball effect of clutter. A few dishes in the sink? No big deal. A little stack of mail on the counter? Harmless. But a few days of this and suddenly your home starts to feel messy, disorganised and overwhelming. I once spoke with my neighbour Joyce, who told me, I don't understand how my house gets messy so fast. So I asked her, what's your daily routine? And she admitted she wasn't doing any small tidying throughout the day. She let things sit, thinking she'd tackle them later, but later never came. Here's the truth. Small daily tasks prevent big messes. So here's the fix. Set a timer for a 5-minute tidy-up session every evening. 5 minutes, that's all. Pick up clutter, wipe down the counters, straighten the pillows. It doesn't have to be perfect, just a quick reset before bed. All right, my friends, let's talk about a type of clutter that sneaks up on all of us. Paper. Paper clutter. I don't know about you, but back in the day, everything was on paper. Bills, bank statements, receipts, newspapers, letters, and if you're like me, you've probably held on to a lot of it thinking, I might need this later. But before you know it, stacks of paper take over your countertops, drawers, and even entire rooms. I once helped my friend Ed go through his home office, and let me tell you, he had papers dating back 30 years. old utility bills, expired warranties, even grocery lists from the 90s. When I asked him why he kept them, he shrugged and said, "I just never got around to sorting it." Sound familiar? Paper clutter is tricky because it doesn't feel like clutter at first. A few pieces of mail here, a couple of receipts there, but over time it adds up fast. And the worst part? When you actually need an important document, it's buried under all the stuff you don't need. So here's the fix. Go paperless whenever possible. Many banks, insurance companies and utility providers offer digital statements. If you don't need a paper copy, opt for email instead. Scan important documents. If you want to keep a record of something, use a simple scanner or even your phone to digitize it and store it in a folder on your computer. Create a designated spot for incoming mail. Instead of letting envelopes pile up on the kitchen counter, set up a simple tray or folder where all new mail goes. Then, once a week, sort through it. Keep what's necessary, recycle the rest. Ed finally let go of bags and bags of old papers, and you know what he said afterward? "I feel like I can breathe again." So today, take 5 minutes and tackle one small stack of paper. I promise you won't regret it. Now, my friends, this next habit is one that I completely understand because I've struggled with it myself. Sentimental items. Holding on to too many sentimental items. If you've lived a long, full life, you've collected a lot of memories, and those memories often come with things: gifts from loved ones, souvenirs from special trips, cards, letters, old clothes, family heirlooms. Each item tells a story, and letting go of them can feel like letting go of a piece of our past. I once helped my dear friend Evelyn go through her home, and she had an entire room filled with sentimental items. Boxes of old birthday cards, stacks of photo albums, gifts from friends who had passed on, even clothes from decades ago. She told me, "I can't let go of any of it. It all means something to me." And I told her something that changed her perspective. When everything is special, nothing is special. If we hold on to every single item with meaning, they start to blend together. The truly precious things get buried under piles of less meaningful ones. And instead of cherishing our memories, we feel overwhelmed by them. So here's the fix. Choose a few of the most meaningful items and display them proudly. Instead of keeping boxes of old letters in the attic, frame your favorite one and put it where you can see it. Instead of storing away your mother's old dishes, use them for special occasions. Create a memory box, a simple, designated box where you keep the items that truly matter most. One place for special treasures instead of having them scattered all over the house. Evelyn followed this advice, and after choosing her most meaningful keepsakes, she told me, "For the first time, I feel like I'm honoring my memories instead of drowning in them." So today, take a look around. Are there things you're holding on to just because you feel guilty letting them go? Remember, memories live in your heart, not in things. Keep the best and let the rest go. Now, my friends, let's talk about something that most of us don't even think about, but it can be downright dangerous. Expired and unused medications. Expired and unused medications. If you're like many seniors, you probably have a drawer, a cabinet, or even a whole shelf full of prescription bottles, over-the-counter medicine, vitamins, and supplements. Some of them are recent. But if you look closely, I bet you'll find some that expired years ago. I once helped my friend Tom clean out his bathroom cabinet, and he found painkillers from a surgery he had 10 years ago, cold medicine that had turned a funny colour, and bottles of pills with labels so faded he couldn't even read what they were. And yet, like many of us, he held on to them because he thought, "I might need this someday." But here is the truth. Expired medications don't just lose their effectiveness. Some can actually become harmful. So here's the fix. Check your medications at least twice a year. Go through everything and get rid of anything that is expired, unneeded, or unrecognizable. Safely dispose of old medicine. Don't flush pills down the toilet or throw them in the trash. Many pharmacies and local health departments offer safe disposal programs. Keep only your current prescriptions in an easy-to-reach location. If you have multiple bottles, consider using a simple pill organizer to keep track of what you take each day. When Tom finally cleared out all the old bottles, he told me, "I feel safer knowing I'm not accidentally taking something outdated or unnecessary." So today, take 5 minutes and check your medicine cabinet. Your health and your peace of mind are worth it. Now let's talk about something that's hiding in almost every senior's closet: clothes that no longer fit. Clothes that no longer fit. Clothes we haven't worn in years. Clothes that we keep telling ourselves, "Maybe I'll wear this someday." Sound familiar? I once helped my dear friend Linda go through her wardrobe. She had dresses from 30 years ago, blouses that still had price tags, and jackets she hadn't worn in over a decade. And when I asked her why she kept them, she smiled and said, "Well, you never know. What if I need them again?" But here's the truth. If you haven't worn something in years, chances are you're never going to. Our bodies change, our lifestyles change, and honestly, so do our tastes. Keeping a closet full of clothes that don't fit or don't suit our current life only makes getting dressed more frustrating. So here's the fix. If it doesn't fit, if you don't love it, or if you haven't worn it in years, let it go. Keep only what makes you feel comfortable and confident. Clothes should make you feel good, not guilty. Donate items that are still in good condition. Someone out there could use them right now instead of them just collecting dust in your closet. Linda finally let go of 3 full bags of clothes. And you know what she told me? "For the first time in years, I actually love everything in my closet. Getting dressed is so much easier now. So today, I challenge you. Pick 5 items in your closet that you haven't worn in years and let them go." I promise your wardrobe and your peace of mind will feel so much lighter. Now, my friends, we've made it to the final bad habit, and I truly believe this one is the most important of all: negative self-talk. Negative self-talk. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, "I'm just not an organized person. I've always been messy. It's too late for me to change. I can't let go of things. I'm hopeless at decluttering." Let me stop you right there. The way we talk to ourselves matters. If you keep telling yourself that you can't do something, your brain will believe it, and you'll stay stuck exactly where you are. I once worked with a woman named Margaret. She had spent years saying, "I'll never be able to get my home in order." But when we started working together, I noticed something. She was actually great at making decisions. She knew exactly which items she truly loved and which ones were just taking up space. The only thing holding her back was her own self-doubt. So here's the fix. Replace negative thoughts with positive ones. I deserve a clean, peaceful home. Let it begin with voice. Well, until you start climbing a very steep staircase, progress is not perfection. If you clear off one shelf, that's a victory. If you organize one drawer, that's progress. Every small step you take brings you closer to a home that feels good to live in. When Margaret changed the way she talked to herself, everything else followed. She started small, but little by little, she created a home that felt peaceful, welcoming, and free from clutter. And when I asked her how she felt at the end, she smiled and said, "I guess I was wrong. I can do this." And my friends, so can you. So today, I want you to try something. Catch yourself the next time you say something negative about your ability to declutter. Replace it with a positive thought instead. You are capable, you are deserving, and you can create a home that brings you peace. All right, my friends, we've talked about 15 habits that can make your home feel cluttered, and more importantly, how to fix them. But here's the thing. Reading these tips is easy. Taking action is what truly makes a difference. So I have a simple challenge for you. Just try one thing today. Declutter one small area, a drawer, a shelf, a corner of a room. It doesn't have to be big, just one small step. Set a 5-minute timer and do a quick tidy up. You'll be amazed at how much better your space feels after just a few minutes. Start a memory box. Gather the sentimental items that truly matter and give them a special place. Because your home should be a place of comfort and joy, not stress and clutter. And remember, you're not alone in this. Every small step counts. Every little bit of progress matters. You can create a home that feels peaceful, organized, and welcoming. If this video was helpful, please share in the comments which habit you plan to tackle first. Don't forget to subscribe to Timeless Wisdom for more straightforward, practical tips to make your life easier and less stressful. You've got this, my friends.